Hello everyone and welcome to my plan with me or memory plan with me for the week commencing Monday 31st of February. I am using a kit from Paper Crown Planner. This is a kit that is in printable form. It is not her newest layout, it is actually one of the older ones, but nevertheless it's still a lovely kit. The great thing about these printable kits is that they are so good on the budget. So if it's something that is of a consideration, and you know that's fair enough too, it's there's no point in having a hobby if you're feeling excruciated by the cost of it. So these printable kits are fantastic value. They're quite lovely, they're nice to put down. You can add as much bling as you want, that's entirely up to you, or you can keep them as plain as you like. There is the option with a lot of these kits from both Paper Crown and from Print Petticoat Bandit to foil them as well. I'm just going to speed you through the laying down of the base. Please don't hesitate to let me know if there are any stickers you'd like to know a little bit more about. Comment down below and I'll get back to you. Heading across onto Monday, I'm starting off by using one of the little boxes with the washi tape in the corner, and I'm using this to mark that the clinic was closed due to our flood. If you watched my last plan with me, you'll know how my attempt to have some leave went pear-shaped when our clinic experienced a flood towards the end of the week, and the effort that everybody put into to minimise the damage and to get us back and working as normally as possible and as quickly as possible. We were very grateful for the fact that we've put in place a contingency plan and all of our digital work paid off, and we were virtually able to run our clinic from a remote destination and continue pretty much as usual. Testament to a good team and some good things in place to support that team. I've used a sticker from the kit to put the little laptop in the corner. I do like that sticker that has the laptop and the vase, and I think it's really pretty. And I've used some of the florals from the add-on sheet as well. Underneath that I've put a flourish divider. Now using a half box and with a work sticker from the kit also, I noted on there that I needed to do banking and prepare wages, and a calendar from the deco sheet included in the kit. That was because even though I was working from home, staff still need to be paid, and fortunately, again, as I mentioned earlier, our services are such that we can pretty well continue our job and do things very much as normal, which is great, and that's what we need going into the future. That was certainly brought on to a large extent by COVID, but we have expanded on that, and it's very comfortable knowing that we can completely recreate our business in another location using these remote situations that are in place. Underneath the half box, I used one of the Beau dividers from the kit, and under that placed a flag and some more deco, again from the kit, and noted on there that we had a doctor's meeting that evening. It was a quick meeting. I just wanted to keep the doctors informed as to how the works to recover our clinic were going, and keep them up to date. That didn't take very long to do. Things were going quite smoothly in that area. The clinic itself was full of great big dryers. They were like 747s. When you walked in the door, you thought you were going to be pinned to the ceiling. They were so blasting, so strong. But they were doing the job, and they were getting the carpet dry, and there was certainly a vast amount of wet carpet. So I was pretty impressed with how that was travelling. Across onto the top of Tuesday, I've used one of the little circles with the floral decoration on the side, which came from the add-on sheet that I printed, and a desk scene from the Pretty Pink Co. And that was to indicate that now that the reports were finished, I was able to go ahead and pay the wages. And then underneath there, I've used a quarter box from the kit, plus again a little flourish. Needed to pick that up because it was not put down straight, and just to indicate that I headed down to the clinic to check on it, make sure that the water was drying and all of the things that needed to be done were happening. Then I just popped back with a little sparkle cluster there from my spoiled planner, and I've paired this kit with some rose gold features throughout. As I mentioned when I showed you it in the beginning, it is an unfoiled kit and a printable, but I've tried to add some little, I rarely do a kit without some sort of foiling. That's something that I would do only as out of interest if something came up that someone wanted to see an unfoiled kit, but it's not my personal choice. I usually like some foil thrown in somewhere. Under the full box, I have used one of the boxes with the bow in the corner just to indicate there that my last Simply Gilded box came in. I've been loving them. I've been collecting them for a couple of years, but with the Australian dollar difference to the American dollar and just the delay in postage and cost of postage and so on, I decided that perhaps it was time I stopped, and I will use a few of these things before I start sort of collecting again. And then just underneath that, I've noted that we went out to the pub for dinner this night. We had, it had been a busy few days, buzzing backwards and forwards to the clinic and what have you. And so it just seemed like a nice idea to head down to the pub and not have to think about tea on this night. Across to the top of Wednesday, and I've taken a half box, turned it on its side and added a nice floral down the side of it, and noted on there that it was another day of chasing emails and another inspection at the clinic. On this occasion, there were quite a few people involved in the inspection, and we were all agreed that we were happy that it was coming along well, and that the dryers would be given till the evening to finish drying and would be taken away ready for us to reopen on the Thursday. We did need to move the furniture that had been moved during the flood back so that we could go back to normal, and I was planning to go down to the clinic that evening to help do that with a couple of other staff members, and they very kindly called me and said that they had it under control and there was no need for me to drive down to the clinic. that's the sort of staff that I'm blessed to be working with, and I was certainly very grateful for that, and I appreciated the fact that they did it. Not only did they do the job, but they did it pretty effectively and in a very quick time. Underneath the flourish, I've used a couple of boxes layered on top of each other and a mobile phone to note that I received a message from an old work colleague. It was a bit of a surprise. It came out of the blue, but it was nice to hear from her, and I just thought I'd pop that into my planner. Underneath that, using a half box again from the kit and with a piece of flourish from the kit, or a piece of floral I should say. I noted there that I had another meeting later in the day to finally inspect and also acknowledge the treatment that had been done. Happy that there was no mould and that we were all good to go. The sticker that I've used there with the cleaning products also came from the deco in the kit, and that completed the Wednesday and the first half of the week. Popping across onto the morning of Thursday, it was work and back in the clinic. I've used a little bit of deco from the kit which has got a few coffee cups in it, and it was definitely my shout for coffee this morning. Certainly everybody deserved it, there was no doubt about that. And although it was great that our systems worked so well for our remote working, generally speaking, I think I could safely say everybody was pretty glad to be working back in the clinic. Underneath that half box, I've used a very fine foiled divider and another piece of the floral. You can see what a difference the floral sheets in many of my spreads, the difference they make. They just take everything to a whole nother level. They extend the way the kit flows, and I'm a massive floral fan, so obviously I'm very biased, but I simply love these florals from Paper Crown Planner, and I know that many of the sticker people, manufacturers, designers are also doing a lot of these florals at the moment. They're very on trend, but even if they weren't on trend, I'm sure I would love them because I'm just such a massive floral fan. They make your spread look terribly feminine, which is what I love, and they're just so pretty. I can't speak more highly of them. Underneath that half box, I've used a flag and just noted on there that I had 3 meetings this day. Still continuing to follow up on the damage, what sort of things were going to happen, whether we were going to be looking at insurance claims and what have you. So with that flag, I started off and I used a sticker with a pen that came from the kit. And then I had to write over some white out, which is something I really hate doing. I still wasn't happy with that. So you'll see that I actually did change this. I used another flag, and I ended up using a lovely laptop from the Rose and Tea Shop to mark the 3 meetings. I'm going to try and do that as something going forward. You can just see it in the top of the screen now. I obviously did that off camera. Heading underneath the full box, I've done another little bit of layering with a quarter box from the kit, and then a little postage stamp one that came from the add-on sheet. And I just marked on there that after work this day, I headed out with my husband and my youngest son, who still lives at home with us, and we had some lunch at a little local cafe called Oven Craft. And I've also used the a little foiled knife, fork and spoon. Underneath that, I have used a third sticker on and marked a meeting that we had with our admin staff that night. I've also used a thin foil divider and a pretty pink scene from the office. We did get Johnny Boy's brought in, which is sort of a local restaurant, but it took forever. I'm not sure that we'll ever order takeaway from them again. It was a nightmare. Their food is lovely, but the time we waited to get it was just beyond ridiculous. With Thursday completed, it's time to head across onto Friday morning. I've used another one of those pretty laptops and some more floral from the add-on sheet, and marked on here that there were 2 meetings this day with 2 members of our team, one of the doctors and one of the nurses. And then underneath that I've used the little foiled flourish, and then used another piece that came from the add-on sheet, which is a bit like a swatch, and that was to mark that it had been a steady day. Things were certainly getting back to normal. We're used to a busy day, and this was no exception. I've used the Beau divider between those stickers, and that came from the kit. I also marked on there that we had lunch at Heritage this day. So we'd had a bit of a week of dinner out. I think it was just everything had been so messy that it seemed like the easier thing to do. That's a pretty little can with flowers in it from the kit also, marking lunch at Heritage. And then that evening I had a bit of a YouTube binge looking at some various craft rooms and how people had set them up and so on, because for those of you that are regulars to my channel, you'll know that I am planning a move to a larger room in our house, and I'm going to be doing a new craft room. Needless to say, there will be a room tour involved with that as well, which will be a little bit different from the day-to-day planning. Heading up onto Saturday morning, again a little bit of layering using a couple of the boxes from both the add-on sheet and the kit, and Mr. and Mrs. Mint foiled pillow and sleep-in, couple of my faves again. Popping underneath that, I've used a half box, which is from the kit. I do like the way Paper Crown Planner does those watermarked florals in her boxes. They're pretty enough to sort of be decorative, but they're still practical enough that you can write in them. I've used a Crafts by Thaowie camera there, and noted that I filmed a plan with me for January the 17th. Popping down underneath the full box with that lovely cup of coffee. The theme of this kit, I don't think I mentioned, was called Espresso, and it was all about coffee, and this was definitely a week of needing plenty of that. So I put down there that I had picked my kits for the month. Last year I did my whole year's worth and discovered that that was probably not my chosen way to do it, and so now I do it month by month. I'm just showing you the sticker that I used to mark having Chinese underneath there, and I used a print Petticoat Bandit printable for the knife and fork setting. Following on from there, I've used one of the boxes with a little Beau paper clip in the corner, and just wrote on there that I was watching the rest of the Sweet Magnolia series. During COVID at some stage, I got onto this series and thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm a bit of a Hallmark girl, and it definitely has a Hallmark-esque feel about it, and I was really enjoying watching it, and so that's where I marked Sweet Magnolia. The sticker above that I used for my kits is a planner sticker from Paper Trail Plans. Very pretty pink with a little floral behind it. Now, finally, heading across onto the last day of the week, Sunday, I've used a decorative box from the add-on sheet and a script from Paper Trail Plans, post on Instagram. Did a quick photo of one of my plan with me's on this day. It's something I'm really not good with, and I'd like to try and make more of an effort, but I just keep forgetting to do it, which is really not good. So that post on Instagram was a plan with me, as I mentioned, and just a little foil sprig there to add to the florals on that box, and a couple of sparkles underneath there as well. Then I've taken another one of those watermarked half boxes and put on there planning time, and used another one of those planner stickers. They're so sweet, they're worth using a second time, and just noted that I actually did my February monthly on this occasion. I don't usually film the monthlies, but if that is something you'd like to see, then by all means let me know down in the comments, and we'll see if we can't include that in the schedule somehow. Underneath that, another lunch at Heritage. Goodness, this was very much an eat-out lunch. We hardly had anything at home, but it was partly because I was supposed to have been on leave, and we often try to eat out a bit when I'm on leave, and it had just been one crazy week, and the eating out just seemed like the easiest for all of us. And I've used again more of that knife, fork and spoon from Print Petticoat Bandit, and some florals and a couple of sprigs from the add-on sheet and the kit. Underneath that lunch I've put meal prep. I was wanting to change a few habits in my diet, and I've been looking at these smoothie recipes that were recommended from someone else who found them to be very effective for her. So I was spending that afternoon and evening meal prepping the smoothie bags. They're quite good, really. You just get a whole lot of clip seal bags and put all of your ingredients into them, pop them into the freezer, and then you just pull it out the night before. If you want your smoothie in the morning, it's all ready and defrosted, straight into the blender, and you're good to go. So they're fantastic, and I've been enjoying them, and I feel that I am seeing some results, so that's really good. That is the end of this week's Plan With Me. If you have any questions, as I mentioned earlier, please don't hesitate to ask. More than happy to try and help if I can. Thank you very much for joining me for this memory plan with me. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Goodbye for now.